Hey everyone, what's up? Yeah, I'm heading to work right now. It's a little after 6:50. I'm trying to get there in plenty of time. Fortunately, like some jobs, they give you a 10-minute period or grace period, if you will, to get into work, and so that they can round it out. But when it comes to work like this, especially in the state of California, one thing I do appreciate is the fact that they give you a 1 hour lunch. And I really appreciate that. I really do. And it seems that it doesn't matter exactly. Nothing. Just I saw somebody's missing bus ticket, probably already used. But anyway, it seems that it doesn't matter, with the exception of being 4 or 4.5 hours, that it doesn't matter exactly how long, how many hours you work. I'll give you an example. About a month or two ago, when I was doing carts, they had me doing carts for 5 hours. Crazy, I know, right? Well, they had me doing it for 5 hours, and when my lunch hour came, it came at a time that when I would come back, would only give me an hour's worth of work, and that's it. So what I did is I had my bike at the time. I took it home, ate lunch there, then rode back, did an hour's worth of work, and that was it. And to me, it was like, well, what was the point? What was the point of even... it's like, what was the point of even doing, 5 hours? Should have been more like 4.5. But it wasn't. It was 5 hours, and by by law, they had to give me an hour lunch. Now, there was one time, though, that my job made an exception on that, because I told them, look, I'm doing 5 hours here, and if I go to lunch at this time, you're only going to have me for an hour less. And this is when I was doing cashiering, which I'm still doing now, which I'm currently doing now, I should say. I said, you're going to end up having me for less. Hold on for a second. Just some people walking by. Didn't want them to think I was talking about them or anything. But anyway, they had me basically doing the same kind of scheduling. Well, similar. And one of my CSMs said, take a half hour lunch. Because I said, look, I told him, look, if I do this, I might as well, just clock out. I might as well just, like I said, I might as well just clock out and go home. But I know you need me. Working right now. So basically, they said take a half-hour lunch. Because it wouldn't have made sense. It wouldn't have made sense for me to go to lunch, and then when I got back from lunch, all of a sudden I had to clock back out, or something like that. It wouldn't have made any sense. Would it have made sense to you? Probably not. But again, even with the crazy scheduling that it is, I do appreciate the 1 hour lunch. I do appreciate the 1 hour lunch deal. I really do. especially when it comes to either 7-hour days or 7.5 or 6-hour days or 6.5 hours or even like today, 8-hour days. You know why? Because it splits up the shift. It splits up the shift. Let me explain. You see, the way I look at it, and I think this is how anybody should look at the 1-hour lunch, depending on, what state they live in, whether they get an hour lunch, a half-hour lunch, or even an hour-and-a-half lunch. Believe it or not, they do give those, or even a 2-hour lunch. And yeah, there are states that do that too. But this is the way how I look at it. I look at it like, if I have an hour lunch, if you will, that when I clock out, I'm clocking out of my first shift. Basically, I'm clocking out of my first shift for the day. In other words, I'm clocking out, and if I have my bike, I'm going home for the day. I'm going home for an hour, or at least the majority of it. Then riding back and starting my next shift. That's how I look at it. I look at it as two different shifts. I look at it as two different shifts. And I think that's how a lot of people should look at these kind of jobs with these kind of breaks in hours. Especially these 1-hour lunch breaks or 2-hour lunch breaks or, even an hour and a half or maybe even half hour. Look at it as if you're basically clocking out for your first clocking out, and if you live close by like I do and you have transportation, just go home, relax for that half hour, or relax for maybe that hour. Mainly it's an hour lunch, I should say, or that 2 hours or whatever, hour and a half, however long you're required to have a lunch at your job. Go home, if you're close by, go home and relax for a little while, then get back in, and then get back onto your transportation, whether it's a bike, a car, or whatever, or even if you're walking, because maybe your job's right next door, get back on your transportation, or just basically get back to your job somehow, and clock back in and act like you're starting your job for the first time that day. Because that's basically what it is. You're basically taking an hour off, rejuvenating yourself, and you're coming back and you're clocking in for that next half of your work day. But you should treat it as if you're clocking in for the first time. That's how I look at it. As if I'm clocking in for the first time. So that's how I think people should treat these 1 hour, the lunch breaks, whether it's 1 hour, hour and a half, probably 2 hours, whatever. They should treat them as if, they're getting off, going home or going somewhere, away from the job, and then coming back afterwards rejuvenated and basically clocking in for the first time during the day. So that's all I'm going to say, though, on that. That's how I think people should look at it. So that's all I'm going to say, and I'll talk to you later.